Welcome, everybody. John Zegar. Good evening. Good evening, good evening, good evening. 6:03 is the time. Eastern slope of Colorado. Cloudy outside, raining. It's been raining pretty much for the past few days. It's supposed to rain all night tonight. I guess we're supposed to get a little heavier storm around 11. Last night, we had so much hail that the ground everywhere looked like snow. It just looked like we got dumped on with snow. We had that much hail. And what else? We had 15 tornadoes on the eastern slope. I don't believe there was anybody injured, but they showed pictures of, I don't know, a half dozen of them. You know, there were quite a few that were just up in the sky that had not quite touched down, but we had 15 confirmed tornadoes. Pretty bizarre. What am I drinking today? Iced tea. Good tea, don't get me wrong, not regular tea. Well, part of it, yeah, I guess I did pour some regular, like Nest tea in there with some green tea and ginger. And instead of drinking it hot, I'm drinking it with ice. So I've been trying to think about this podcast the last couple days, and I came close to doing it, I don't know, yesterday and even the day before. It's been 2 days, I think, since I've done a podcast. And I'll try to keep this fairly brief. I kind of have a general idea of what I'm trying to talk about, and hopefully it'll come out all right. So where I'm going at with this podcast is about resistance, right? Why are we not manifesting what we want to manifest? Why are our prayers not being answered? How come our lives are not changing to the direction that we would like? So, I'm going to give you an example. There's this guy for 11 years that has been living in lack. Right? Kind of destitute. Really no money. No home. And had attempted a couple various jobs which were meaningless and abusive and really would not produce any forward movement. You know, working for big box stores in menial positions for less than, it seemed like, minimum wage, and constantly harassed, hollered at, negative remarks made to this person by, they hire these, what would you call them? I guess they're supervisors or managers that have never been a supervisor or manager before, and they have no professional training, and so they react based on emotion, right? Their education is pretty limited. So when they see somebody that's homeless and without any money, they get aggressive and they try to attack that person, and they might make statements to that person that legally you're not supposed to be making. Very offensive language. Because they feel like they're a step up or above this homeless person, and I'm going to show them. As opposed to you put a proper leader or manager or supervisor in there, and they're going to empower that employee so that that employee can grow and become an asset for the company, right? So it goes on that this individual works a diligent program similar to Dr. Joe Dispenza. Goes out and gets all of Dr. Joe's books and reads them and listens to all of the YouTube lectures, interviews. Starts doing all the meditations. And is committed emotionally, intellectually, and has a strong desire to have this all work. Right? And nothing happens. Obviously doing meditation, things are going to happen. If you've never done meditation and you start, initially it's going to be slow, but eventually you will acquire a skill that will have positive benefits for your body, physically, mentally, probably spiritually too, I guess. Boy, that's nice and cold. And so, he got that kind of benefit out of it, but nothing manifested. And he would ask other people who were knowledgeable about this stuff, how come nothing is happening to me? I'm not having any mystical experiences. The idea is to get yourself into that theta brainwave in your meditation and hook up with the unified field. Unified field is where you eventually want to go when you do meditation, so that you can hook into all of the energy of every life form there is in the universe, and all of the intelligence that goes along with it. And the unified field is also where unlimited possibilities exist. All possibilities that have ever happened since the beginning of time, back to the energy bang in the beginning, are there. So if you can think it, it's already happened before with somebody else. That's why they say there's infinite possibilities that exist. Whatever your intention is, whatever you want to manifest, somebody has already done that. And you're just trying to slow your brain waves down, beta, alpha, theta, right? Delta's sleep, gamma's high end. And you just want to be able to get your brain waves to a place to where you're hooking up with all this energy that currently exists and has ever existed from the beginning of time, including source. That's huge. And again, you hear me being critical, and oh gosh, I don't know. You know, there's so many people out there that when they talk about, you know, they do their meditations and now they're going into the field and, you know, they're having mystical experiences. You know, they're just wannabes. Are they able to do that? Well, maybe one or two here and there. But the majority of people talk as if they just go there all the time, and they don't. They're just wannabes. You know, they already believe that they're a neuroscientist or something. But anyway, I'm not going down that road tonight. So this guy tries for, I don't know, maybe 5 of the 11 years to get to the unified field. Order, right? And he's never gotten there. I don't believe he's said he's ever gotten there one time. Therefore, he's never manifested anything, had anything go from energy to matter. Ever. So that's disheartening, right? That's very, very disheartening. And the guy thinks he's a complete idiot, and he's actually highly educated, highly skilled, and understands the industry and understands all this stuff that you've just read. And nothing is being produced. And he goes back and he asks, you know, is there another approach? Is there something I'm missing? Here are the steps, A, B, C, D, E, blah, blah, blah. And if you follow these steps, you will get there and be able to manifest, and you should be able to get some energy transformed into matter. And he goes back and tries a different formula, and a different formula, and a different formula. You know, he keeps reading and researching, and nothing happens. And the obvious, which you guys are all sitting there already knowing the answer, is, you know, he's got blocks up, right? You know, there's belief systems that were programs that were put into his head at an early age, and they've become so hardwired that they're creating blocks. Nothing will manifest when you have blocks, right? Right. So that's called resistance. You have resistance. Now, the resistance or the blocks can be conscious or subconscious, right? You may know you're doing it, or you may not know you're doing it. And what happens is, if nothing occurs for a long enough period of time, it produces depression. I don't think so much anxiety, but depression, despondency, dejection, a lack of hope. it's hard to envision a future, design your future. As Dr. Joe says, if you're stuck in survival. If you have resistance and blocks up, and you're not getting out of lack after 11 years, guess what? So you have to go back and pick it apart and try to find out what those blocks are, what the resistance is. And here's what he came up with. He came up with his belief systems, the beliefs that were put into his head, were all about fear. From a narcissistic parent, self-centered, right? Everything was about his mother. And nothing was about the child. And she instilled into him, I'm just giving you what I have here, she instilled into him fear of the world and all the people in it. And everybody's against you, and everybody's after you. And anything you try is going to be harmful or harm you. Whoa. Think about that, you guys. Think about that. That's huge, huge, huge. And he gets that the entire time he's growing up. Obviously, when he's 7 and under, and he's in theta, brainwave, and it's just going straight into the subconscious. He gets into high school and becomes good in athletics by sheer fear. He is hurting so bad emotionally, he reaches out and tries to overcompensate. And gets himself to the point of excellence and then self-sabotages the whole thing. And goes back down to the beginning, right? The whole world is against me, and everybody's out to get me, and anything that I try to do is going to be harmful. And he goes on with his life. It's kind of this up and down, success, failure, success, failure, success, failure. And every time he turns back, narcissistic parent, mother in particular, is going to draw the boy, the son, back to her for his acceptance. That he's okay or not okay. And every time he goes back there, he gets whipped on. No, you're not okay. If I'm okay, then you're okay. So it's kind of a cluster, to say the least. I need some more iced tea. So how do you get that belief system out of your neuron clusters completely? And how do you put in acceptance? Right? Let's see, how can I explain this part? So if your body and your mind are not coherent, you're not in homeostasis, and therefore meditation's not going to work, and manifesting things are not going to work. Your autonomic nervous system, right, which runs on its own subconsciously, if it's not working, then you're even in more trouble. In other words, you're in disorder. It's going to cause things to short circuit. Your cardiovascular system, for instance, your digestive system, for instance. Things, cycles in your body are going to be in disorder and not coherent until you can change that belief system. Is that kind of clear? That's pretty clear, isn't it? Right? So you move on in life. This particular guy moves on in life, gets older. And things are good and things are bad and things are good and things are bad. He gets things good and then he self-sabotages everything and, he goes back down to the bottom and starts off in deep lack again. And he continues to educate himself and acquire more knowledge with what's going on. And for whatever reason, it doesn't work. Nothing seems to work. So a fear, this is kind of a good story, you guys. Don't leave quite yet. This is a good story. I'm not going to go a whole lot longer. So his biggest fear, this is kind of silly, is about heights, getting up in the air, tall ladders, rooftops, right? He hates heights. So when he gets out of college and graduate school, he runs over to the airport because Cessna was advertising that you could learn how to fly for, back in this day, $500 or some stupid thing. And he signs up to learn how to fly. Terrified of that little airplane. But isn't not going. He's committed. He's in this. For sure, we're doing this. And he hops in the plane, and the instructor, explains things, and he's already had classwork, and he kind of gets to take the plane off and land it and do some flying on his own. Of course, the instructor's right there all the time just to make sure they don't crash. And he overcomes a huge hurdle. And he goes on with a flight instruction with the instructor, and after, I don't know what he said. I don't know. It was less than a dozen flights. The instructor got in the plane with him, and they started it up, or they were getting ready to start it up, and then the instructor says, "You're on your own." That's the solo flight that everybody is scared to have. And he thinks, now I've got to do this on my own. And sure enough, he follows everything he remembered and read and was told, and taxis out, takes off, flies around the pattern a couple times, and comes back in and lands perfectly. Huge accomplishment. The hell with the autonomic nervous system. It's now creating order. The body and the brain are working together. The belief systems dissipate. And rather than thinking resistance, starts to think in terms of acceptance. All right? So some years go on, and he does fine, but eventually he goes back and self-sabotages and crashes again, so to speak, figuratively, so to speak. So for him, the way to overcome or to prune apart those neuron connections and put new neuron connections in there, is that he would start meditating, he would say, about when he was early years of doing the work, his career. They took the whole group to Outward Bound in the wintertime, and all the camping and running and sleeping in the snow and everything was fine, but they had a ropes course. You're 20 feet off the ground and you're walking on tight ropes, so to speak, and real hairy sort of, it's supposed to push you to your limit, and how are you going to handle it? And he couldn't handle it. He couldn't even get up the tree steps to get to the ropes course, and just totally failed. And from that point on, things got worse for him. Right? So jump ahead another 10 years or so, 15 years, I guess, whatever it was he was saying. And so now his meditations, and he gets himself in trouble. He's smart enough to figure out he gets himself in trouble with his resistance. He writes snide comments on the internet. He confronts people all the time. Not like, you're a jerk or something like that, but he just calls people on behavior that might be inappropriate. Resistance, 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 resistance. So he's gotten to the point now to where he meditates a lot more. I mean, he's always meditated a lot, but now he's meditating a lot more. And in order to get into the unified field, remember that conversation about 10 minutes ago, he's decided to climb the steps on that tree to get up to the ropes course and to visually see himself successfully completing the ropes course. Right? And that's how he pruned apart the resistance and the blocks to his life being in lack for 11 years. Stay tuned, you guys. I'm going to give you, in the next one or two podcasts, the continuing update of his progress. You're going to be amazed. God bless everybody. Take care of one another, and I'm looking forward to talking to y'all again real soon. Thanks a lot. See you. Bye.